Hi members, for those who haven't met me, I'm Matt Dillon, President of GRA, and I'm here in Hangzhou, China at the World Green Roof Congress. I've been speaking with Patrick Blanc, and I know that a lot of our members are very interested in number 1 Central Park in Sydney, the new green wall vertical garden, should I say, in Sydney. Patrick is just going to fill you in on the progress as he's coming to Sydney in 2 weeks.
Okay, hello everybody, hello Matt, pleasure to meet you again for this conference. So yes, I'm very excited by this project in Sydney. It's with Jean Nouvel, the famous French architect, with whom I did work already quite many times. And it's very exciting because it's a big patches, so 20 to 50 meters high, all along the facade, and the facade is almost just in front of UTS building, is almost 150 meters. So you can understand that the patches at the top of the building, of course, receive full light, full wind, right? And so, you know, sometimes in Sydney it's very hot wind. Yes. So of course I did choose different species according to different levels. For instance, for middle levels, a plant I love in the Blue Mountains is Melaleuca hypericifolia. So this I did choose for middle, but for the top plants, of course, I did choose some other Melaleuca growing more close to the sea. So many different species because I did use about 250 native Australian species. So it's a real challenge, and also almost 180 also exotic species to have some different kind of flowers at different seasons. So it will be almost 450 species. So it will be really a kind of botanical garden between the earth, between the pavement and the sky. So for me it's very, very exciting on different facades, so not the same exposition. So for me it will be the highest I've ever done, so I'm very excited, and I come in 2 weeks to see. It did begin last week. The installation did begin just last week.
Okay. And which part of the process do you think will need to be monitored most closely?
So at the beginning, of course, during the establishment of the plants, because the plants, of course, are small, they are cultivated since 1 year, and they are regularly pruned to have many branches at the base, because in full wind it's more important to have not a single stem, but to have many branches, are much more wind resistant. So of course, as soon as the felt is not totally covered, we have to be very careful about not to dry, because the felt has not to dry out, because the young roots need humidity. So at the beginning I give more water, and after 3 or 4 months we'll reduce, of course, the water amount. Hopefully all the water will come from collected water from the roof, and also all the grey water, because it's high building, so you have a lot of grey water in the apartment. So all the water is recycled and is used to give the water to the panels of vertical gardens. And also for all the other plants, horizontal plants also, so it's ecologically it will be really sustainable.
Exactly, and that's usually one of the first criticisms that people have, is that if the system will use too much water.
Yes, but
what you're saying is that the plants will take the water that they need, and that it does not need to be flooded like most people think, and the water is being recycled. Grey water, storm water, and there are recycle tanks being put into the project.
Of course, exactly, recycle down tanks. And of course, too much water means development of blue-green algae, bacteria, so it's not good because the roots have not oxygen enough to grow. So it's just 1 or 2 minutes of watering every 3, 4, 5 hours. So and excess of water is collected. So of course, it's not always covered with water. Okay. It's not aquatic plants, not at all.
But this is good because people need to know and understand the system, because in Australia this system is new. How have you found sourcing the plants? Because, nurseries, has that been good?
You have the chance to have good nurseries. For instance, around Melbourne you have a Corangas nurseries which are growing maybe 1 or 2,000 different Australian native species. In Australia you are lucky because you have many very well specialized nurseries in native plants. In Europe it's not at all the same. You have only plants from China, or from Riviera, many Australian plants also, of course. But here in Australia, same as in South Africa, you are growing many of your native species, so it's very, very interesting.
So you think there's great potential for Australian plants for green walls?
Yes, because you know you have so many cliffs facing the sea or in the mountains, so you have so many plant species growing with very you know, your soils usually are quite poor or very poor in nutrients, especially phosphorus. And as you have a very low amount of phosphorus, you have many plants who did develop association with fungi because you know, fungus don't like too much phosphorus, and as you have very low amounts of phosphorus in Australia, you have many plant species developing very close mycorrhizal associations. So you have really a special thing in Australia. It's very exciting.
Okay. So I hope you enjoy your next visit to Australia. It's fantastic that this project is going. It's great for the industry, good for Sydney, good for Australia.
Yes, so 10 days.
On behalf of GRA, thank you very much for this short but informative interview.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.